So the number one trending topic in Jamaica this week is people on the internet going crazy about this new legislation with the Jamaican government banning toy guns and imitation guns from Jamaica, from being imported to Jamaica, from being sold in Jamaica, and for people possessing or walking around with imitation gun or toy guns. And this was all from an interview that was done by a young lady called Kimberly Whitaker. She's an attorney at law, and she did an interview roughly 7 days ago on TVJ Good Morning, Smile Jamaica TVJ, and she was expressing concerns about this legislation that is the 2022 Firearm Prohibition Act. And in that interview, she went on to talk about the legislation is too vague, and toy guns, like people with toy guns. I see people going around talking about water gun and all this type of stuff, that police could see your child playing in the street with a water gun and could arrest them, and they could face up to 15 years. So if you're outside of Jamaica and you're seeing this, you're like, man, like the government is crazy. Like, what is this the government is doing? And you would think that, okay, this legislation, this prohibition, Firearm Prohibition Act makes no sense. So just in case you have not seen the interview, this is the clip that went viral that have everyone in Jamaica talking about this toy gun, plastic Firearm Prohibition Act in Jamaica this week. So this is the interview.
It says that any object, essentially, that has the appearance of a firearm, that will cause you to be liable to serve 15 years imprisonment because it is a prohibited weapon. So under prohibited weapons, we have missiles, missile launchers, prohibited firearms, grenades, and then when you go down the bottom, you see imitation firearms. So the penalty for having an imitation firearm is 15 years. And if you choose to resist and vehemently explain why you're in possession of this firearm, imitation firearm, and the police think that you're resisting, the minimum is 20 years. A see-through water gun.
Oh, even a see-through water gun?
Is an imitation firearm.
Okay.
Someone asked me about a cake. You know that some of the bakers, they're very talented. Something as simple as a cake. Can that be considered an imitation firearm? I believe that the law is silent and it gives too much power to determining what is an imitation firearm. It encapsulates anything that looks like a firearm.
Let me play devil's advocate here. Would the lawmakers, or did the lawmakers do this because they think people are using imitation firearms for, what's the word, nefarious means?
And in thinking about the issue, there are unscrupulous, criminally minded individuals who don't have access to a firearm and may shape out a firearm to go and commit a robbery or commit a felony. However, the intention of Parliament, I'm humbly suggesting, on the ground, 3 years after the fact, it is not encapsulating those persons. Innocent children, children who we know they're not au fait with the law. We don't expect them to be educated on certain things because they're still learning.
Okay, so that was Kimberly Whitaker. And I believe that this is so unfortunate that when you go on social media this week, everything that is trending coming out of Jamaica about this conversation is just ridiculous. Like some of the most ridiculous takes that you could ever imagine. Like people talking about like your 5-6-year-old child playing in their home with a water gun or something like that, and police could just come and arrest them, and the mom or the parents would get charged 15 years in prison because your child is at home with a water gun. And it just got out of control. And I think that interview with Miss Kimberly Whitaker there, I think it was a bit misleading, because this is something that is 3 years in the making. The Firearm Prohibition Act, 3 years in the making, and this is something that the government is trying to do to stem the gun culture in Jamaica. Because the reality is, as a Jamaican, we know for since 1980, since the 1980 election, which is recorded as the bloodiest election in the history of Jamaica, since 1980, Jamaica have entered a list of the top 10 most violent country in the world when it comes on to crime from illegal firearms. And Jamaica is the only country in the world that has been on that list for that long. From 1980 until 2025, Jamaica is on that list. And the government, successive governments have tried things over the years to stem this culture, this gun culture that Jamaica is just so accustomed to, and nothing seemed to work. So is this a good idea for them to try and ban imitation firearm or toy firearm? And when people are going around showing like plastic guns and stuff like that, I don't think that is the intention of the government. I think the government is more focused on some of them that realistically they look like a real firearm. You have some toy guns out there that really look like a firearm, and I think that is the intention of the government. But I think that this thing is politicized, which is another dangerous thing, because crime is not a PMP problem, crime is not a GLP problem, crime is a Jamaican problem. And the People's National Party, when they were in government for 18 years, they got a lot of flack for crime in Jamaica too. And some of the things that they tried, we remember Renito Adams, remember the Brayton 7, remember a lot of things, a lot of these police force that government put together to stem crime, and they had to shut it down because the brutal force in which some of the police officers use. So crime is a problem that Jamaica has been battling with for like over 50 years. And so I think it's just unfortunate that this conversation now is a social media conversation, sensationalized on social media, and people are not taking this serious, especially in the same week when we have 2 mass shootings in Jamaica. So as I say, I don't know if this is the solution, if like putting a ban on certain toy guns coming into Jamaica, if that is too far, I don't know. But the reality is that we're not going to know until the government does something. And the reality is that the gun culture in Jamaica is something that is embedded in our culture, and is something that we need to get rid of. And, I saw the Prime Minister, one thing that stood out to me, this week also, I saw the Prime Minister visiting victims of those mass shootings, and to see like a grandmother there like crying, bawling out her eyes because her grandson was taken away from her, and her grandson is the one that is the breadwinner in the family. And I know that it have to touch the Prime Minister. Like, the Prime Minister is not a cold person. Like, standing there, going to those victims' house and talking to them. And that image, seeing that image this week, reminded me of something, I think it was last year, when there was another mass shooting, some of the victims being kids, and I saw the Prime Minister did the same thing, and he went to visit the victims, and you could see the emotion in the Prime Minister's face, knowing that like kids are being like victims of these gun violence in Jamaica. So I believe that this conversation need to move away from social media, trending conversation. I believe that this conversation need to move away from politics. I don't think people on the ground should make this political, because the People's National Party have dealt with this. The Jamaica Labour Party have dealt with this since 1980. We have been dealing with a high level of gun violence in Jamaica, and something has to be done. And sometimes I really wonder if some people in Jamaica are really serious about fighting crime in Jamaica, because as I said, successive government, not one single government, everything I've seen government try to do to stem the flow of crime and violence in Jamaica, it's been heavily criticized. And one of the things that people are always saying, like these organizations like Jamaican for Justice and those groups, yes, we need those groups to hold police accountable. But one of the things that stand out that a lot of people are talking about is that when we see these mass shooting and stuff like that, we don't see any group like church groups coming out. We don't see any groups like Jamaican for Justice coming out and condemning these violence in Jamaica. And trust me, growing up in Jamaica, we know the criminals in Jamaica. We grew up in the community. We're growing up in a garrison, like in the 80s, in the 90s. Like, I know that sometimes when police come and police will come and get somebody, and you live in that era, you are going to have to come out with your placard and protest even when you know that that person is a menace to the community, you have no choice. As someone that live in the community, you have to come out and you have a protest and you have to say like a good youth and, you know, him send the pitney them go to school and him do all of this type of stuff. And that is the type of culture that we have in Jamaica, as I said, since the 1980s. And the thing is, like, sitting down and doing nothing is not an option, because Jamaica, we saw this year where the low unemployment rate, we saw crime going down in Jamaica. And the notion that a lot of these young men that are going around and doing these things is because they can't find job. I think it's time that a lot of Jamaicans are not buying that anymore. We see people from China coming to Jamaica laying block. When we saw that protest at the hospital a few weeks ago with Chinese workers protesting that they weren't getting paid. There are a lot of jobs in the construction industry in Jamaica and a lot of young people, young men in particular, not working in those fields. We have heard the cry from the tourism industry that they can't find people to work in hotel. They're getting people from Spain, they're getting people from other countries to come to Jamaica and work. Now there's a shortage of nurses and shortage in almost any profession you can imagine. So the idea that men that are going around and becoming a menace to society, like blame the government because them can't find work. And the thing is, as I said, I grew up in the garrison. And when you see these high-powered weapons that these young men are walking around with, like back in the days, like one of these weapons could have buy like one of them deported car, figure run taxi or something. Every shot you fire out of these guns, they're expensive. So it's not people that are dying for hunger in Jamaica that are like a menace to society in terms of this gun culture in Jamaica. So the reality is, as I said, I don't know like if this is going too far. I think when you're a politician, you have to do what you think is best for the country, and history is going to judge whether this is successful or it fails. That is how this administration is going to be judged. But is like giving up like toy guns or imitation guns. Like if you are if you are denied the opportunity to go to one of those toy store and to buy one of those toy guns that realistically look like a real weapon, is that going to like diminish your life in any way? I don't think so. I think that's the least to give up for Jamaica to be better, because every Jamaican I've talked to, every single Jamaican I've talked to in the diaspora, two things that keep them out of Jamaica: crime and healthcare. It's not work. Like most Jamaicans that I talk to, they're not saying that I would not go back to Jamaica because I'm not going to be able to find jobs in Jamaica. The two things that keep a lot of Jamaicans from going back to Jamaica: crime and healthcare. So yes, we have to move the conversation forward, and I hope that someone from the government will come out and to clarify that, look, you're not going to see a child with a water gun spraying water and police is going to just come and lock him up and give him mother and father 15 years in prison. That is not going to happen. And I don't agree with Mr. Vegas on a whole heap of things, but Mr. Vegas is right on this one, and this is what Mr. Vegas had to say about the whole gun culture in Jamaica and why are people so resistant. People are so insist on giving their young kids toy guns. This is Mr. Vegas.
In our 2025, we're in a digital space. Is that the new era, the digital era? I want to tell the people and say the government will do the right thing for eradicate gun culture. When I talk about one buy when pick the water gun. We are trying to get rid of gun culture. I want to talk about who no want buy pick the water gun and what pick me go do if they can't get water gun. When you say dumb and fool, we attack and I try to bring down the Prime Minister, everything on the chat, so we try to bring down the Prime Minister. That we don't understand, say, if it is illegal to have it, it's illegal to sell it. So when they go say Mr. Chin or Miss Chin or sell it, if them not go lock them up too. Then Mr. Chin or Miss Chin have no illegal firearm with an imitation or not, no? That's what happened. We're trying to eradicate the society of the gun culture. And that are the reason behind this. The youth them don't need no guns. buy on the pitney gadgets. Set up on a youth with digital instruments where them can make all money on the internet. Me not about go up on TikTok go beg. Kai send at them no dey on TikTok a beg and them a millionaire. ISO speed them no dey on TikTok a beg and them a millionaires. Jusky them no dey on TikTok a bill or whatever you want name and them a millionaires. Them learn how to stream. Them learn how to get involved with artificial intelligence so them can make money and better them future. The youth them need to learn robotics. Youth them to study the AI system we have in place now. We are run everything. Stop tab on the need to buy on a picnic gun. Stop compare yourself with the picnic them. Because when you did little you have water gun. You did have computer. You did have no digital instruments. At that we grew up on. But we never have them things here. Where the youth them have access to now. Why we need gun? Why? Why we need gun for una pitney? It doesn't make sense. Last night, because of this gun culture and this gun bad man praising and romanticizing of gangsters.
Okay, so that was Mr. Vegas. So join the conversation in the comment section and let me know how you feel about this one. And I think one thing we should clarify is that from what I've known, from what I'm hearing about this act, is that it is not something that, as I stated earlier, you're going to have one of them like blue or orange big plastic water gun and you're like shooting water out of it and police is going to come and arrest you and give you 15 years. I think from what I'm hearing, this is more geared towards like toy guns that look like real firearm, and the 15 years mandatory that from what I've been told, and that's why I believe that the government need to come out and clarify it. From what I've been told is that if you are a young man in Jamaica and you get one of those toy guns that look like real, like the real thing or imitation firearm, and you go on a robbery, even though you're robbing someone with a firearm that cannot arm them in any way, if police catch you with that, you are going to get 15 years. That is my understanding from this act. From what I'm hearing, is not just like police just going around picking up random people with plastic water gun and locking them up. And I think we have to be smarter than that, because that would make absolutely no sense whatsoever. So as I said, sound off in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Do you think the government is going too far? And would you be willing, if the government, if something like this would work and it would make Jamaica safer, is this a lot to give up for the safety of our country? Let me know in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.